Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, November 2nd, all the way through to Sunday, November 8th of 2020. And this week brings a big shift in the energy compared to last week, where we had a big, powerful full moon in the sign of Taurus conjunct Uranus, which is happening today actually as this video is being posted. And that energy was all about liberation, changing things up, excitement, bringing in some new energy, disrupting the old paradigm. Whereas this week, things are kind of coming to a halt. They're coming to a standstill. Mercury stationing to go direct in a really tight square with Saturn. This Mercury-Saturn square is lingering all week long, and this is really causing us to have to take a little breather, to sit back, relax, pause, and look at what's going on around us before we move forward. And before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you all, for those who are new to my videos, the way that I structure my videos is that I actually begin with a general forecast that lasts maybe 5-10 minutes. This is important to listen to because it does provide an important context for the energy we're going to be discussing when it comes to your more personal forecast in the all sign forecast for the week ahead. Speaking of which, when I do get to the forecast for all 12 signs, be sure to listen to your sun, moon, and rising sign. Your rising sign is going to be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is also important to listen to, although that will be a more subjective, internalized reflection of the energy. Finally, at the end of the video, I'm doing something new where I give a brief overview of the energy we're going to be discussing in next week's forecast for the week ahead. And that forecast is going to be posted next Saturday at 9 a.m. So if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update. So moving on from that, the energy this week, as I mentioned before, is a little stuck. It's like we thought we were getting some forward momentum. We thought we were making some changes. There was some progress to be had. And all of a sudden, it's like everything is standing still. Nothing can move forward this week. It's like everything that we want to accomplish, it's just there. And it's not really going anywhere. That doesn't mean that it won't go anywhere. It doesn't mean that we can't move forward. It doesn't mean that we can't make progress. It's just going to be very, very slow this week. And it's more likely to pick up pace as we move into the next couple of weeks. And also the good news is after this period, we're going to be moving out of the more intense energies that we've been experiencing in October, especially in the next couple of weeks after Mars goes direct. And so, this week it is going to feel kind of like we're walking through mud, or we're like in quicksand or something, where we're just moving so slowly and we really need to get out of this really oppressive state. We need to get out of this really funky mood or sort of melancholy mindset. But it's like a struggle. It's like the harder we struggle, the more we get sucked into it. This is not a week to try to push anything. This is not a week to try to force anything to happen. This is also a week where a lot of people are going to be questioning their mindset around things, or feeling more insecure about sharing their thoughts, their ideas, their vantage points, because they don't want to be made fun of, they don't want to be picked on, they don't want to be lashed out at, or they don't want to be made to feel inferior or unintelligent. And so a lot of people, especially people who have a lot of energy in the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, are going to be holding back a little bit. And this is not the week to just blurt out any random old thing. This is a week to speak in a way that's very deliberate. This is a week to consider all sides of the argument before you make a decision, before you speak your piece. This is not a week to just rush into saying or agreeing to or doing anything. If you do have to make a move, make sure that it's been very well thought out, very well planned, and that you're not just jumping into something all willy-nilly, and it's something that you need to do, that you're doing the responsible thing, and that you have considered and weighed all of the options first. And I would recommend not initiating anything until after Mercury goes direct, if that's at all possible too, just because that Mercury stationary energy is going to make things much more murky, much more stuck, and anything that you try to initiate is not going to gain a lot of momentum this week, unfortunately, especially when it comes to mercurial types of things, which include most things that we have to deal with every single day in our modern society: communication, technology, phone calls, emails, text messages, short distance travel, vehicles, commerce, connecting with people, you know, in our immediate environment, just communication in general, right? Like we're in a society that's very much about communication, information, and technology, and all of these things are not necessarily getting the green light for movement and momentum this week. This is also a week where I'm kind of interested in what's going to be happening in the United States with the postal system and the elections, just because Mercury is the messenger planet. It rules mail and the postal service. And so, you know, that's going to be kind of an interesting thing. And last time we actually had Mercury station direct on the day of an election was in 2000, where we had the recount and we had to wait quite a while to get those election results. And so I'll be interested to see how this plays out this week on that more global scale. But on an individual level, it'll be a similar energy where things are going to be blocked. Messages are not going to be coming through that you might need. Information might not be available to you when you need it most. And you're going to have to wait. It's a week of patience. It's a week of sitting back and allowing things to happen and waiting. And, you know, that's not the most exciting news, but it is a time to take a break. If you need to take a break, this is the time to take it, especially if you need to take a mental vacation, if your mind's been really busy and you've been bogged down by like a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, a lot of communication. If you've been feeling frazzled, now's the time to pull back a little bit. And so that being said, I just want to mention that I am doing a huge sale beginning today on all of my webinars, all of my courses, all of my Electional Astrology Guides for each of the seasons. And so I'm offering 40% off of everything right now through Monday at midnight. So through November 2nd at midnight. And you can find the link and the coupon code to access those courses down in the description below. This is a big sale and I'm super excited about it. And this is just really to celebrate Halloween because I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. And so I wanted to do something to kind of, you know, make it exciting. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing there. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with the sign of Aries and Aries rising. All right, so for Aries and for Aries rising, this energy is going to be happening in your 7th and in your 10th house. And so this is a time where there's something that you want to communicate or move forward with involving most likely your relationships. There could also be work-related relationships or business partnerships involved in this energy where there's a message that's not really coming through or not coming through really clearly. You could also have a very pessimistic mindset when it comes to your connections, your relationships, and especially your romantic partnerships or your business partnerships, where you're not seeing things truly for what they are, or maybe you're being blocked from weighing all the options or seeing all sides of the point. But this is a time where you're going to be feeling a little bit down or a little bit critical or more skeptical, even when it comes to your relationships and what people are saying to you and the messages that you're receiving. You might not be receiving them well. And there are messages that you send out when it comes to those close, personal, important relationships might not be well received or might be blocked or might not actually even get to the person that they need to get to. And so this is a week where if you have something important to say, if there's an important contract you need to sign, if there's an important negotiation going on, slow it down, take a break, step away from it if you can, and wait until there's a better energy for it, just to help negate the potential for challenges, blockages, delays, and complications. This could also be a very sort of there could be something that you want to move forward with when it comes to transforming and changing your career and your work situation. And maybe you're waiting on an important message. Maybe you're waiting on the okay from your boss or from a superior, and it's just not happening at the pace that you want it to. That's okay. This is a time for you to pause, reflect on what it is that you truly need, want, and desire for your career, and then express that and then move forward, in the next couple of weeks or so. But yeah, this is definitely a time to be evaluating your relationships, taking a step back and sort of reviewing what's going on in those areas. And this is a time where there could be blocked messages. And if you are receiving a message or some information from somebody and you're not liking what you're hearing, you might not have the whole picture. You might not have all of the information. There's something being blocked that you can't quite get to just yet. Okay, and then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this is an energy where there's some sort of, first off, there's potential for miscommunication, blocked communication, messages not being received in the area of your work, your coworkers, your work environment, your daily habits and routines. And so this is not necessarily the best week to engage in any sort of important meetings with your coworkers or with your employees. This is not the best time to get the information across in an appropriate way. There's something that could be lost in translation or missed or blocked from being received by other people. In the same token, when your coworkers or when people in the workplace are communicating with you, it could be the exact same thing. You're not getting all the information. It's not coming through in the right way. There's some sort of blockage or some sort of delay to receiving the email that you need or the paperwork that you need or whatever it is to move forward with your plans. And that's okay. Just take a step back, take a pause. There could definitely be a lot of communication issues in the workplace right now, though. And you might be feeling a little bit mentally exhausted or drained, or feeling like you really want to procrastinate when it comes to your work and your daily habits this week. Again, that's okay. This is a time to pause. You still do have to take care of your responsibilities. If you neglect those, that's going to create a mess that you're going to have to deal with and clean up later on. But as much as you can, don't push too hard, because things are not likely to be moving very quickly this week. And that's okay. That's just going to be the way that it is. There could be important information involving your health that might not be coming through, or the health of somebody that you care about or that you're caring for. There might be a missed message or a message that is not complete or not accurate even that comes through, involving like test results or health information. And so just keep that in mind and take the things that you get with not with a grain of salt, but just make sure that you're very discerning. You're asking the right questions. You're probing further to make sure that you're not missing anything. Okay. And for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Geminis, this energy is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of play and fun. And it's the house of joy, hobbies, interests, the things that you love to do, the things that you do because you love to do them, because they bring you joy, the things that you do by choice. This is also the house that has to do with children. And so this is a time where there could be something that you're thinking about doing or moving forward with, involving your passions, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love, or something that you really want to move forward with, involving your children very literally, or your children's education with that Mercury energy. And all of a sudden, something comes to a standstill, something stops, something's blocked, and you're not able to progress forward as quickly as you might like to. This is actually going to be more beneficial for Geminis than it will be for a lot of the other signs, because this is going to cause you to have to rethink things, and this is really going to change your personal trajectory moving forward. So this is going to change the way that you are orienting your life in order to accommodate for the things that you love and that bring you joy, but you're going to have to kind of slow down first. There could be some power struggles, there could be some blockages, there could be some issues in communication that are not allowing you to move forward as quickly as you might want to in these areas, but you still can. And so if you're looking at incorporating the things that bring you joy, the things that you love, maybe into your daily experience more, maybe you're thinking about starting a business, starting that side hustle, maybe there's something involving your children's education that you want to move forward with, and it's just not happening this week, or there's some sort of miscommunication or blockage that's preventing it from happening as quickly as you want it to. That's okay. Make sure that you're probing, asking the right questions, being very deliberate and intentional with your speech, and that you're just taking your time. Don't push anything, because it's not fully formed yet, and there's something that you might be missing that's important that you'll understand better, especially next week and the following week. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this energy is creating blockages in communication involving your home, your family, and your property. There could be some sort of miscommunication or blocked communication, literally involving like your family and your immediate family members, where you thought somebody said one thing, but they said something else, or they meant it a different way. There could be an inability to connect with your family members in the way that you want to. There could be a very literal blockage or some sort of rule rule or regulation or restriction that's not allowing you to connect with your family members in the way that you want to. This could also be that you want to initiate something really important involving your home environment or your place of living, and this energy is blocking you and not allowing you to do that in the way that you want to. So maybe you want to like renegotiate your lease agreement. Maybe you want to move. Maybe you want to, find a new location or change something about your home. And somebody or something is preventing you from doing that. Something is saying no. If that's the case, that's okay. It's because you haven't really thought this through and considered all of the options. Even if you believe that you have, there's something that's being blocked that you're not able to mentally access right now. And so give it some time, wait for the message to come through, and then you'll be able to move forward. This could also indicate some sort of criticism coming from the parents or criticism coming from the family members that makes you feel inferior, or that makes you shy away from expressing your mind and speaking up and saying what you think and what you feel and what you believe. If that's the case, the hesitation might actually be for a reason. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't share information that's important, but make sure you're very deliberate and you're considering the way it's going to be received before you move forward with sharing that message. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leos, this energy is happening in your 3rd house of communication and in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. And so this is a time where communication very literally could be at a standstill. Maybe your phone breaks. Maybe your email server is down. Maybe you're not getting your mail. Maybe you're not getting the messages that you need to receive for some reason. There's some sort of delay or blockage in communication, especially involving work-related communication, where there could be miscommunications or information that's not being shared with you that's pertinent, that you need. And it could also be that you feel like you're not getting through to your employees or to your coworkers in some way. The communication is just being blocked. It's not being received, or you're being made to feel inferior because of your ideas, or like your ideas are not good enough. If that's the case, pull back, retreat. You don't have to push and like force things to happen. People will see that your ideas are good. People will see that what you have to say has value, as long as you think about it very deliberately, you approach the subject very deliberately, and you consider all of the options, all sides, and the way other people will perceive things based on their perspective first. And so this week, some things might be stagnant. This could also be like you want to move forward with travel plans and your car doesn't start, or the travel plans get canceled in some way. There could be some sort of miscommunication or block communication involving neighbors, your neighborhood, your community, something along those lines. Whatever the case is, don't worry too much about it, because after this week, it will clear up. It will start to make a lot more sense, and you'll get that understanding and that clarity that you need. But it's just going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of persistence to get the answers that you're looking for. And for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, there could be some sort of blockage or some sort of difficult communication or miscommunication that comes in around your finances. Maybe there's trouble with a paycheck. Maybe there's trouble with a bill that comes in. Maybe you're missing some sort of financial transaction, or maybe there's some sort of blockage or delay in an important communication related to your finances. It could also just be that you're trying to balance your budget. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to sort through the way that you want to create your resources moving forward, or the way you want to save your money, or the way that you want to pay off your debts, and things are just not moving very quickly. That being said, it's not going to last forever, but money could be on your mind. You could have a heavy mindset, a melancholy mindset around your resources, around your finances this week. If that's the case, it's probably going to prevent you from focusing your attention on the things that you love, on the things that matter to you, on your hobbies, your interests, the things that you do because they bring you joy. It's going to put a little bit of a damper on your fun time. And if that's the case, that's okay. just know that this energy is going to pass, and this is not a time to push. This is not a time to force things to happen in any way. This is a time to slow it down, take a step back, rethink your strategies when it comes to your finances, so that way when we move forward and when Mercury starts to gain some traction, you have a much better idea of what you need to do. You have a much better plan, a much better strategy. You can be very deliberate with your actions, and you'll have considered all sides, all of the options first before you jump into anything. And so just note that that'll be the case. And if there is an important message that you need to send involving money, finances, payments, resources of any kind, there might be blockages, there might be delays, they might not understand the point. And so you want to make sure you're very deliberate with your speech and with your intentions. And if you can, wait on it until the timing's a little bit better, just to make sure the message is not just received, but well received. Okay, and for Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libras, Mercury is stationing to go direct in your sign. And so this is going to be especially intense for Libras and for all the cardinal signs, especially if you are a Libra sun, moon, or rising, with your sun, moon, or rising sign anywhere near that 25th degree. This could bring some challenge, delays, difficulties, stagnant energy around communication in general. You might feel like nobody's listening to you this week. You might feel like you're not getting your point across. You might feel like people are not speaking to you appropriately. You might feel shy about sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas with other people because you don't want to be, belittled, or because you're afraid that somebody's going to question your viewpoint or question your intelligence. If that's the case, that's okay, but definitely say what you need to say if you need to say it. Just make sure that you're really considering other people's vantage points in the way that they're going to perceive what you're saying based on their perspective. Make sure that you're being very deliberate with your speech. And there could also be some sort of miscommunication, complication, power struggle, or difficulty involving your home, your family, or property this week, where you might want to move forward with something, but it's not quite ready and it's not quite gaining that momentum just yet. And there could be some sort of miscommunication or difficulty involving your home or property, or maybe a missed message or delayed message from like your mortgage company or from your landlord or something like that, that could cause some sort of issue. So just make sure that you are on top of things this week. And that when you're communicating, especially with your family members, you're very clear and very deliberate in what you're saying. That's going to go a long way. Really thinking things through before you speak is going to be very important this week, especially for Libras. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpios, this energy is happening in your 12th house, which is the house of dreams, the house of the subconscious, the house of secrets, the house of solitude. And, it's kind of an interesting energy. When you talk about the 12th house, you're also talking about things that are hidden, including hidden enemies. And when I see a challenging energy like this, especially because there is an opposition from Mars also at play, it makes me think that some of you are going to be involved in the spreading of rumors and gossip, or you might be on the receiving end of gossip or like the spreading of rumors or something like that, where somebody might be talking about you behind your back and that message is not quite getting to you just yet. Like there's something going on behind the scenes, something's happening, but you can't quite put your finger on it, or you can't quite figure out the culprit. That could be the case this week. And so just kind of be aware of that. You might not figure it all out right now, but you will eventually figure it out and it will come to light. It'll just take a couple of weeks for that to happen. If you are the one gossiping, spreading rumors, don't do that. That is going to come back to bite you. I would definitely not recommend speaking about people behind their backs this week. Even if you're doing it with good intention, this is probably going to cause some issues in communication moving forward. This is probably going to be something that you're going to have to deal with and take responsibility for in the future. And so it's not something that you necessarily want to be doing. What this is a great week for is for just taking a break, taking a vacation, spending more time working on mental activities behind the scenes. So this is a good time for planning, for strategizing, for thinking things through. This is a good time for solitude. This is a great time for journaling. This is a great time for introspective work. This is a great time for doing some sort of spiritual exploration behind the scenes. This is also a time where you could have messages that come through in your dreams, but they might be blocked in some way, or you might not fully understand the meaning. Same thing with those like journaling and spiritual practices and meditations and all of those things. It's kind of like your inner voice is blocked. There's something that you can't reach that you need to access, and it's like, it's right there and it's so frustrating. What is it? If that is the case, keep writing it down, keep, making note of what's going on, but you might not fully understand it for a couple of weeks, and that's okay. You might need to come back to it. Communication this week is going to be very difficult for Scorpios with that stellium in Capricorn being squared by Mercury. If there's anything really important you need to say or put out there, this is probably not the best week for it if you can wait a little bit. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, Mercury is stationing to go direct in your 11th house. And this is actually going to be a little bit nicer for Sagittarius than for some of the other signs, because it will be squaring your descendant, trining your descendant, and it'll be sextiling your ascendant, sun, or moon. And especially if you are a Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees, you'll be feeling this more positively. But there is still going to be a little bit of tension. While this can illuminate some important communication, some important message that you need to pass along to somebody that you care about, this can also bring about tensions, frustrations, and difficulties involving communications with your friends, your social networks, people you surround yourself with by choice. This is not a good week for networking. This is not a good week for having very clear, open, honest communication with your friends. There's something here where it's being blocked. It could even be that there's something that's blocking you or preventing you very literally or very physically from going out and having fun with your friends or engaging intellectually with your social circle. There could be financial blockages. It could be that your friends want to go out and do something extravagant, and maybe you're on a budget, or you're saving your money, or maybe the finances just aren't there for it. And that could cause a lot of frustration. It could also be that you don't want to speak your mind because you don't want to be made fun of. You don't want to be put down. You don't want to feel inferior. If that's the case, I mean, definitely you can wait and put a pin in it until the timing is better, until you feel more confident. But if you need to say something, if you need to speak your piece, just make sure that you're considering other people's vantage points, other people's perceptions, and the way that they're going to receive the information based on their knowledge, their experience, who they are. And also, make sure that you're just being very intentional and very deliberate with your speech this week. Don't say anything to your friends or to groups of people that doesn't need to be said. So excess communication, not so good. That's where you're going to get yourself in a little bit of a bind. Over explaining things, again, that's not necessarily the best way to proceed. So if there is some complication or a dispute or an argument or some sort of diciness with your social circle, keep that in mind. And make sure that you're just saying what you need to say, not any excess, and that you're being very intentional. And there could be some sort of communication or message that comes through involving your finances that could be a little bit strenuous, or at least mentally, it could cause a little bit of stress or strain. If that's the case, that's okay. You might not have all of the information just yet. So give it a week or two, really think on it, strategize, plan, and even if it is something that's set in stone, you'll be able to navigate it much more effectively moving forward. You don't have to get down on yourself just yet. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, Mercury is stationing in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. This is going to be an interesting time for Capricorns, just like all of the cardinal signs. This is a week where communication at work is going to be tense. It's going to be stifled in a lot of ways. There could be some sort of message that is not received properly. There could be a miscommunication. There could be a delay in communication, especially involving not just your work or your career in general, but anybody who is in a position of authority over you, like a boss or a superior. This is not the best time to reach out for help from those types of figures. They're not likely to be as supportive as they normally would be. So if you're looking for a raise or for a favor, maybe, wait on that one. But with every single thing you say or do in your work this week, be very deliberate, very intentional. Don't say anything that doesn't need to be said. Only say what's most important, and make sure that you're considering all sides and the way that other people in your work environment, in your career, the way that other people, or just like the general public, if you're somebody who is a public figure and puts stuff out there on the internet or elsewhere, make sure you're considering how it's likely to be received by all parties, by all the different sides. Weigh those options before you decide how you're going to deliver an important message, if you do need to deliver an important message this week. It could be that you get some feedback from a boss or an authority figure or from the public at large that is, maybe a little bit more critical, and it causes you to feel a little bit down on yourself. If that's the case, don't stress about it too much. This is something obviously to take into consideration, but it's not going to matter quite as much as you think it will moving forward after this week. This is just a week where if something like that occurs, it's going to feel a little heavier than it normally would, because your mindset is going to be a little bit more, I guess, cynical or melancholy, or anytime you have Mercury with Saturn, you're more likely to view things from a pessimistic vantage point and to focus on the negative as opposed to the positive. And so if you do get that criticism, focus on all the positive feedback that you've gotten in the past. Focus on something that you did really well this week. Try not to dwell, because again, it's not going to matter so much moving forward after this week. For Aquarius and for Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, Mercury is stationing to go direct in your 9th house, which is the house of education. It's the house of travel. It's the house of adventures. This is a time where those types of things might be a little bit dicier, where something might come to a standstill involving your educational pursuits, involving maybe a teaching pursuit that you have, involving some sort of travel plans that you've been making, involving a connection to somebody in a foreign country, or a connection with a teacher, involving writing or publishing or putting something out there. It's almost like you were moving forward. You thought you figured things out. You were getting some momentum going, and all of a sudden, Mercury stationing, squaring Saturn is putting the brakes on your plans. And if that's the case, that's okay. Just know that this is helping you to align yourself more appropriately with what you value, with what you need, with what you believe moving forward, because this is actually going to be aspecting your ascendant, sun or moon, in a more positive way, especially if you're an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees. This is going to benefit you in the long run. So this is more like a minor inconvenience, a minor hesitation, a minor bump in the road. It could even be like a procrastination that comes from an internal source where you're just hesitating, you're not pushing forward. If that's the case, listen to it, because it's not the time to push forward. But that hesitation, that space that you're giving yourself, that pause, it's going to help you to move forward more effectively in the future, and to align what it is that you're doing with your life, your goals, your direction, your orientation, with your value systems, with your beliefs, with your religious or moral philosophies or value systems. And so it's going to be a good thing. It's going to help you to act more with integrity. For Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this energy is happening in your 8th house. This is the house of all sorts of different things. It's the house of debt, other people's money, taxes, inheritance, insurance payouts, investments. And so there could be money stuff on your mind. It could be that you get like an important message or an important letter from a collections agency, or from like a tax collector, or from an investment or something like that you've made. Or it could be that you get a message from a partner in business or your romantic partner that kind of puts things to a halt. It's kind of like makes you have to stop and be like, okay, what do we do about this? Involving your financial situation. It doesn't mean anything that's going to be terrible or traumatic or that's going to last for a very long time, but it's kind of something that causes you to have to slow down, take a break, strategize, and consider and weigh all of the options before moving forward. This is also a time where Pisces is way more likely to be in their heads, to feel much more anxious, much more obsessive, much more fearful around a lot of different things, especially around putting yourself out there or expressing to other people, expressing to your friends how you're feeling. That unsettled energy, that anxiety, there's something there where you feel like you want to reach out to people, but you can't quite bring yourself to do it. If that's the case, that's okay. You can choose and pick your friends really wisely, decide who's really loyal, who's really trustworthy, and who you want to confide in. Or, if you need to wait, if you need to wrap your mind around what you're going through before you express yourself, that's completely okay too. too. This is a time where you don't want to be perceived as being like crazy or unintelligent or whatever it is. And you're not those things. And you're not likely to be perceived in that way. But there is this mental blockage where there's a hesitation. It's like, I feel this way. I'm kind of on edge, but I don't want to tell anyone about it just yet. I do suggest that you could reach out to somebody for sure, but make sure it's somebody who's very loyal, very trustworthy, who you can count on if that is the case. And just know that this energy is going to pass. It's like happening this week, and you might feel a little bit more on edge or a little bit more sort of down on yourself in some way, but that's like a mental blockage, and it's probably based on your past experiences, your past traumas, something that is not in the present moment. That's usually an 8th house thing. It's something that's linked to an old experience. This is a great time to reflect on that and figure out where this is coming from, so that way you can heal through it and work through it. And it will take a little bit of time. It will take a little bit of effort. You'll have to be very deliberate in what it is that you're doing to sort of heal and move forward from that energy. But it's definitely a time where that can happen. So this is a great time for healing. This is a time where you're going to have to kind of take stock of your financial situation, especially in all of those joint financial areas that I've already mentioned. And this is also a time where, you might be kind of mentally you could be studying something that's an 8th house topic, like psychology or the occult sciences. Even things like astrology can fall under that realm. Or you could be involved in some sort of really deep research, and it's kind of like all of a sudden you get stuck and you can't go any further. You're like stuck on a topic. You're stuck on this like rabbit hole or this thread that you're following, and you can't get any further for some reason. If that's the case, that's okay. Take a little mental vacation and just allow things to unfold, because it's not going to push it. It's probably not going to come to fruition this week, but in the next couple of weeks, things will reveal themselves to you, and it'll make a lot more sense, and you'll have a better understanding, especially if you do take that time and take that break. Okay, and so that is the energy for all 12 signs. Thank you guys for watching that forecast. Next week, things kind of shift. So we're going to have Venus opposing Mars and squaring Jupiter and Pluto. And so this is going to bring a little bit more tension to that Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn conjunction in Capricorn, that square from Mars. It's going to make relationships a little bit dicier, a little bit more intense. However, at the end of this week, we have a really powerful, really positive mitigating influence with the new moon in Scorpio. Technically, the moon is at its fall in Scorpio, so it's not going to be the biggest, most, overt mitigating influence, but it gives us an outlet. It gives us something that we can kind of hold on to in order to channel the energy that we've been experiencing with needing to transform something, needing to restructure our lives, needing to let go of stagnant, stuck, oppressive energies that we've been dealing with all year long, so that way we can finally move forward into something new. This is going to give us an outlet where we can channel that into literally something new, like a new beginning that can be very powerful. And I'm actually really excited for that energy, and Mercury will be direct by then. And so that's actually going to be quite helpful as well. And so, so next week, things are picking up and things are shifting in a different direction. The tension will still be there. It's going to be there for a couple more weeks, but we're also going to start to see a little bit of relief, and very gradually we'll come out of this heaviness by the end of the month. And so I will see you guys next week. Again, I post my forecast on Saturday at 9 a.m., so make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.